Yeah, I seek leave to introduce the bill. Can
order, please, for the deputy introducing his bill.
The provision of relationships and sexuality education in our schools is not adequate. There is not sufficient education around issues of consent and respect of others. Our young LGBTQ students feel excluded and isolated in our schools. We need to have factual, objective and impartial sex education in schools that caters for the needs and rights of our young people, and our bill addresses these issues. The need for this bill has been driven by young people themselves. Every time we're out campaigning for women's rights, for LGBTQ rights, for repeal of the 8th Amendment, this issue is raised with us by school students and former school students. Solidarity and Socialist Party members who are school students are active on this issue, and it's a major talking point amongst young people. RSE in Ireland is at odds in reality with where society is now. We have an education system that is stuck in another era, while students, parents and teachers have moved on. We have young people far more aware, far more open about relationships and sexuality. There's been an awakening in awareness of consent and sexual harassment, and a desire to end it, reflected in the Me Too movement. Right now, across Ireland, there are protests against how rape victims are treated in the legal system. We have a young generation that embrace full equality for LGBTQ people and see the need to have their lives represented in schools and in education. Young people were the driving force behind the Yes vote for marriage equality and are now the driving force behind the movement for repeal of the 8th Amendment. Young people, teachers and parents are faced with an education system that unfortunately puts the ethos of schools, largely religious-based, ahead of the needs of young people. The Education Act 1998 makes the school boards accountable to the patron in these matters, and the Minister is required to consider school ethos when setting the curriculum for subjects. We know that the Department require issues such as contraception, LGBTQ people and STIs are covered in RSE, but there is no requirement for this to be done in a factual and objective manner, and often it is done from a particular religious point of view. Over the past few weeks, Solidarity has been receiving messages from school students outlining their experiences in sex education today, and some of them are horrifying. In many schools, LGBTQ people are not mentioned. In other schools, questions about contraception are not answered. In other schools, the so-called gatekeepers model is taught, where girls are warned about sexual activity and boys get no real education on consent. Teachers inform us that they feel the chilling effect of the Education Act 1998, where teachers must uphold ethos. Following us moving the Employment Equality Bill in 2015, the then government brought forward some changes on the position of teachers, but the chilling effect is still there for teachers given the position of ethos. There are also good examples of sex education in schools, but that is largely due to the personal initiative of teachers or principals rather than being an obligation across the board in all schools. We need to have clear standards across all schools where young people get an objective and factual sex education. I will briefly outline the provisions of the bill, which is a very simple bill but will have a major impact if passed. It would remove school ethos from relationships and sexuality education. It would require the RSE curriculum not to be gender normative, which will benefit all students, but our trans and intersex students in particular. It would require RSE to cover all the various sexualities, which mean all young people hear about more than heterosexual sexuality. It would require RSE to cover different genders, so that young people know that not everyone is either male or female, that we have non-binary and gender-fluid people in society, and of course in our schools. It would require that contraception would be taught in a factual and objective way. That's actually a key recommendation from the 8th Amendment Committee, an important part of our health and education service. And that options for those with crisis pregnancies will be covered in an objective and factual way to counter some of the misinformation that there is presently in schools. Our bill also explicitly recognises the rights of young people to sex education, because often the rights of religious organisations get prioritised over their right to an education. Solidarity have been enthused by the support this bill has gotten from school students, from students' unions, from LGBTQ organisations and women's organisations. Young people are driving this bill, and I appeal to them to get behind it, which will have its second stage debate on the 18th of April.
Thank you, Deputy Murphy.